Hey guys, I'm Dan. Welcome to my podcast. Today's guest is Greg and Hillary from the Kinetic Kennons. Greg and Hillary have made over 900 YouTube videos documenting their journey living in Mexico and traveling the country. They've received over 38 million YouTube views. And more importantly than that, they're my friends. I met Greg and Hillary when I was living in Mexico City and got to hang out with them, and we've remained friends to this day. But it was really special to get to have a long conversation, to hear a bit more about their journey. So I'm very excited to share today's episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it. By the way, if you're new to the podcast, this is just my passion project. There's no advertisements on this. It's not monetized. And it's just me trying to create something cool for the travel community. So if you want to support me on that mission, there's a few ways you can help. You could go over to Apple Podcasts and leave a 5-star review. You could follow along on Spotify. You could subscribe to this YouTube channel. Or you could head over to patreon.com/thenewtravel and support what I'm doing financially for as little as $1 a month. It really does help. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy this episode of the New Travel Podcast. Here we go. Hey guys, welcome back to the New Travel Podcast. We have a really special one today. I'm here with Greg and Hillary from the Kinetic Kennons. How are you doing?
Good to hear you, man. You sound more Canadian than the last time we spoke.
I sound more Canadian. What does that mean to you, Greg? More Canadian?
More A's, more... I don't know.
What are you talking about, eh?
Exactly.
Oh, man. It's good to see you guys. You're obviously in Puerto Vallarta.
Yes.
How's life in Vallarta right now?
It is sunny today. It is still hot. It's October, mid-October, right? October 21st, and it hasn't cooled down yet. Yeah. But that's nice. That's, I suppose, your Canadian audience that's listening probably enjoys the heat down here.
Yeah. You told them the date. Now they'll know how slow I am at editing this video. If it doesn't come out for like 2 weeks, they'll be like, Dan, what the heck, man?
Sorry about that. I caught myself in the middle of saying it, but
no, it's all good. The truth must come out.
Yeah.
So I assume a lot of people watching this probably know who the Kennons are. Of course, we got to know each other when I was living in Mexico City, and you guys were living there at the time too, right?
Yeah. I think we had each just moved to Mexico City. I remember, like, you had published your first impressions of Mexico City vlog. It came on our radar, and I can't remember if you had messaged us first or we had messaged you, and then, I don't know. I feel like we started hanging out with you pretty soon after we got to Mexico City.
Yeah, same. I remember thinking, like, how are we going to know what he looks like? Like, I've seen his video, but I don't know. And then here you come with Nari walking down the street holding your camera, and I was like, that's got to be them.
Now, some of the people watching will know your backstory because you've been very open in your videos, and people who have been watching for a couple of years will know a lot about your story. But for anyone who might be new or just wants a refresher, why don't you tell people, where did you grow up?
I'll let you take it.
Okay. I grew up in Central Texas in a town called Belton. I'm not sure what the population is now, but it was, I guess, your typical, if there is such a thing, Texas, small town. Loved playing sports, loved being outside, still love being outside, which is why I feel like Greg and I, like when we met, I feel like we both like to be really active, like to spend tons of time outside. So then Greg and I met in college.
Yep, we met in, oh man, now I've been put on the spot. 2010, I believe, correct? 2010.
Yeah.
And
more than a decade ago.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about. So we both went to University of North Texas. I grew up there in Denton, where North Texas is located. And I don't know what else is interesting about us growing up, but in terms of us traveling, we had never traveled together. I hadn't really traveled much growing up. I did go overseas with my dad and sister to Germany, France, Switzerland, just like a week trip. I don't want to minimize it because that's an amazing trip. And that definitely really opened my eyes to just there being a world outside the United States, a world outside of Texas, of just where I grew up. And, but after that, and even getting married, we didn't have the opportunity to travel anymore until our honeymoon. And really going on our honeymoon to the Dominican Republic was the first time we had traveled together, and the first time we both got that travel bug together, I guess, or were able to experience what it was like to go to a different place as a couple. And I guess the rest is history from there. No?
Yeah, I feel like on our honeymoon, it was like, of course, at this nice resort. But then I feel like I can distinctly remember, like, we just wanted to leave. Like, we just started walking past the resort, and we both like found it in each other that we just really have this innate, like, almost necessity to explore. It's like curiosity killed the cats. Hopefully curiosity doesn't kill the Kennons, but like, just like we want to know something different, or it's like I always want to see like what's around the corner, what's around the bend. And I feel like on our honeymoon that was the first
taste, I guess.
First taste of we accidentally swam with sharks too.
It was accidentally. How does that happen?
Well, we swam across this little like opening because we had to. I don't quite remember, but we had to swim across this opening in the ocean because we had walked too far, and then we had to throw the camera. One of us swam across. We had to throw the camera in the shoes. One shoe didn't make it. I don't remember. The next day we were over there, and Greg was like, I think that's a shark right there. And sure enough, that was our first shore excursion.
Yeah, that worker told us, he was like, man, that's dangerous. Like, sharks, for some reason, go in and out of this little
channel. It was like a little channel.
A small channel.
Speaking of curiosity killed the Kennons, I mean.
Exactly. I feel like we escaped there.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. I definitely want to hear more about your travels, and in particular, like how we got to Mexico and how we got to what a lot of people know you for. But before we get there, I just want to ask, to a Canadian, to someone, I only know Texas from, I think, Houston Airport. So my understanding of Texas is very limited. Tell to an outsider like me, what is it that makes Texas unique?
Oh, that's a great question.
I don't know. I think so. Texas was at one point its own country. So I think that in and of itself makes itself,
to some people.
And it really still is for a lot of Texans, it's its own country. So I think Texans are just very proud to be from Texas, very proud to live in Texas. I'm originally from Louisiana. I moved to Texas when in the 3rd or 4th grade. But growing up in Texas, I mean, I guess probably later in life, I mean, you just feel that it has its own culture that is different from other states around it and the rest of the country, really. So there's just a certain sense of pride about being from Texas.
Yeah, I think the Southern hospitality stereotype is very true for Texas. There was a period when we didn't go back for several months, and when we went back, I was amazed at just how kind and friendly people were. People would hold the door if you were, you guys speak meters, right? If you were meters and
speak meters, away, metric system.
If you're meters and meters away, people would hold the door open for you. And I don't know. I think the stereotypical Southern friendliness, Southern hospitality really is true after being out of Texas for a while.
And I do think there's some similarities with Mexico, which I know we'll get to, but Texas, I mean, it has forests, it has beaches, it has a desert, it has mountains. So it kind of has a little bit of everything. Yeah. So I don't know. It is a difficult place to describe, but it's a place you have to visit. Yeah. Just to get to know what Texas is, I guess.
And just thinking geographically, it must have influence coming from Mexico as well. Were you exposed to Mexican culture at a young age?
I would say, I mean, it's hard to say because we didn't grow up in Canada, so we might have been way more exposed to it than we even realized, where there's a lot of things that just
I see.
Whether it was some of the food, obviously we had Tex-Mex, kind of as a fusion Mexican food, but not quite the same.
That's a bit of a debate, isn't it? The Tex-Mex authenticity debate.
I know they're rolling their eyes. It's not Mexican food, but it does have that twist.
Influence, yeah.
But really, there's a lot of very Mexican things about Texas that I never realized until after living in Mexico, and then going back, whether it be through historically, actually being a part of Mexico, being Mexico, or just with the amount of immigration in the United States and in Texas today. There's so much influence.
Restaurants and hospitals and grocery stores.
Yeah.
I would say there's a lot of Mexican influence in Texas.
Okay, so you grew up in the country of Texas, as you like to put it.
Yes, exactly.
And then obviously you made the move to Mexico. And this part I'm unfamiliar with. Did you go directly from Mexico to Vallarta?
To Vallarta. So in 2016, we were living in Dallas, and I guess we had been married a year and a half or 2 years, something like that. We got married in what year?
He's nervous.
We were married in 2014.
2014. You passed.
We got married in 2014. In 2016, and pretty much during that whole time, we just sensed that we wanted to do something different. Hillary was working for a CPA firm. I was working as a personal trainer. We both recently graduated from school and kind of getting started on our careers and with the rest of our lives. And I think getting started into that, we just knew we wanted to do something different.
Yeah.
We didn't know what, and we didn't know how we were going to do it, but we knew we wanted to just try something. And if we failed, well, then we'd go back to living in Texas, living in Dallas. So we actually took a trip to Costa Rica, hoping that would be where we would move. I know you have some ties to Costa Rica. You would live there at some point, right?
Yeah, that's so funny. Before I moved to Mexico, I spent 3-4 months in Costa Rica, and then it was a cheap flight from Costa Rica to Mexico City that first led me to Mexico.
Okay. So we just went, I think, for like a 3 or 4 day weekend. That's all we could get. It's kind of a scouting trip to see if we'd want to move to Costa Rica. We love Costa Rica, but for some reason, it just didn't feel like the place we wanted to move to. Fast forward 2 or 3 months, we found very cheap flights on Southwest Airlines to Vallarta. At this point, I knew nothing about Mexico. Probably, unfortunately, had a similar mindset of a lot of Americans, a lot of U.S. citizens about Mexico. Not that I didn't just think it was just this dangerous place, but it did feel very unfamiliar. The only news I'd ever heard about it was always negative. So it didn't, where Costa Rica sounded very romantic and, oh, that would be amazing to move to Costa Rica. Mexico just sounded like, I don't know. I mean, it's Mexico. What, isn't that where people go on spring break? Like,
yeah.
But we came down here to Vallarta, immediately fell in love. I remember sitting on the beach several days into our vacation, looking at Hillary and saying, what do we need to do to move down here? Like, what do we need to do to make it happen?
Yeah.
5 weeks later, we had sold all of our stuff, gotten out of the lease in Dallas. Hillary had negotiated working remotely, and we moved down here just 5 weeks after our initial visit. So, I mean, it sounds cheesy, but Incredible. It really was one of these things where we knew we wanted to be here, and that feeling has stayed since then. 4 years later.
Wow, that's a great story, and I want to ask you more about that moment. If you can remember the days or weeks or however long it took to make the decision, we're really doing this, we're going to Mexico. Were you? I mean, the reason I ask this is because I know there's always people who watch videos and maybe they think of doing the same thing. Maybe there's people who have always dreamed of making that move to Mexico. Were you feeling doubt at that time? Was it a difficult decision to make? Talk me through that process a bit.
I feel like Greg and I are both very hard-headed, or maybe strong-willed is like the more positive way to say that. But I think when we sat on the beach in the hotel zone, I remember thinking like, we're doing this no matter what. Because I think, not to get too deep, but I think that you can always talk yourself down off that ledge, off of taking any risk, especially a big risk, or, what feels like a big risk. Well, do I have enough money?
Is it the right time?
Is it the right time? What if I lose my job? What if we can't sell our things? What if we don't like it? Like, your mind can create all these rational and irrational ideas of what if. But for some reason, I feel like once we said we're doing this, I feel like it was like full force ahead. Yeah. Like, there's nothing, we know it's not the right time. We know we probably don't have enough money, but if we want to do it, like, the timing's never going to be perfect, right? So I feel like I feel like there was a huge amount of, anxiousness. I think we were really excited, but I also remember we packed like 9 bags or something absurd, which I'm embarrassed about. And
people always overpack at the beginning. I did it too.
Oh my gosh, I had like high heels. I had packed my clothes on hangers because apparently I didn't think there would be hangers in Mexico. And we get to our Airbnb and we're standing out on the beautiful balcony. And I remember looking at Greg and our Airbnb host and being like, so are there like restaurants here? Is there like a store anywhere? Like we knew. I feel like we both got in the day we got in and thought like, are we in over our heads here? But
and I think when we got to that point on the beach in Vallarta where we quote unquote decided we were going to find a way to make it here, like we'd already made the decision like every day for the last 2 years that we were going to do something. So it was kind of just a matter of waiting for that. I wouldn't say waiting for that moment, but when that moment struck, when we knew that we found the opportunity, we couldn't let it pass up no matter how nervous we may have been.
Like that actual last decision seemed small and it didn't seem rash at the time because we'd been talking about it for years.
Now, a tip to all of your viewers, Dan, is I guess no matter the age, really, if you're going to move to a different country, I don't feel like we told our parents probably, like if we could do it over again, I would tell our parents in a different way or give them a better heads up. We didn't really explain to them over the course of a year or two that, hey, we're kind of thinking about doing something different, maybe moving abroad. We never really told them that. It was just kind of between Hillary and not as a secret. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I have a lot of goals and ambitions, and I don't necessarily broadcast them to the world, even my family. So, but we came back from Vallarta, and I remember calling my mom and being like, "Hey, Mom, how's it going? Okay, yeah, we're moving to Mexico in 3 weeks."
Okay, bye. Hang up.
I think she thought it was a joke. And looking back, I feel really bad for our family just because I feel like we put them through. I can see now just how crazy that what we did was. And so that to say for the viewers at home, if you're thinking about moving abroad, maybe give your family a heads up now and not wait until the day you're moving.
That's a great point, Greg. I think especially for people who are close with their parents, it's like sometimes if you're planning to move away, and I've been through this process a few times in my own life, it can be hard on your parents. And even if obviously they want the best for you, they want you to be happy and fulfilled, but the first reaction can be difficult. It can be a journey to get them to the point of seeing, oh, this is actually what's best for my son or daughter. Like this is what they need, or maybe it will take them coming down to Mexico as well, which my mom and dad eventually did. And I think, have your parents been to Mexico too?
Yeah, all of our families have been.
Yeah, and I would say I feel like that's what really made them probably feel somewhat more comfortable with it. Obviously, we're not living at home, so they'd rather us be there for them to see them every day. But them coming, my mom loves Mexican food, and she's been to Vallarta, Guadalajara, and Mexico City. So I feel like she's really been able to explore Mexico and kind of fall in love with it with us, which has been really special for me.
But she doesn't have one thing you have, which is a YouTube channel. So I want to get to the question of YouTube. When you first moved to Mexico, was YouTube something that came before, after, or was it like a split decision? We're moving, we're going to do this thing, we're going to start a channel.
When we first moved to Mexico, we signed a lease for, I believe, 3 months. It was August to November or December. And our thought was, we'll book a place for 3 or 4 months. If we don't like it, we'll head back. So we're kind of hedging our bets there. Hillary's still working online. I was volunteering at an organization here, and YouTube wasn't really on our radar. We later, I don't know when exactly we started, quote unquote, Kinetic Kennons, the blog, I guess is how we started. We just were writing little articles that no one was reading, about Vallarta, I guess. I'm not even sure, to be honest with you. And then after we went back for that Christmas, we stayed in Texas until March. We were living with Hillary's parents, and I love my in-laws, but we could not take it with them anymore. We missed Mexico. When we came back in March of 2017, when we came back that quote-unquote second time around, is whenever we started YouTube, and I wouldn't say we started with the intention of ever being YouTubers. You can't really start YouTube like that, but that's whenever we started it full time and making videos every day and just having fun with it.
So you jumped right into the daily vlogs.
Yes, yeah, we went from 0 to 60. We just went. I remember, our first day that we came back. I don't know if it was our very first day that we came back in March or our second is whenever we started like the YouTube channel.
Do you remember what it was like when you did like the first one or the second one? Like, did you have any intention at that point, or were you just like, I'm just going to throw this up here and see what happens?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, there's always the I don't know, mate. Sometimes we're all a little bit delusional and you hope, it's going to get thousands of views or millions of views one day, but mostly just having fun with it, showing Vallarta to our family and friends. And then little by little, we started to notice like, hey, like other people are interested in Mexico or in Vallarta. And Mexico, obviously, as you know, is kind of a niche in and of itself in terms of travel YouTube channels, and especially Vallarta. There's so many people that love it that I guess after months, we really kind of built our community or put ourselves in the existing community, I guess.
Right.
That's great. Okay, I have two things I want to ask. First, did you have any other YouTubers you were looking up to at the time? Was there like an inspiration who showed you like, oh, this is the YouTube stuff. This is kind of what I want to do?
Obviously there's Casey Neistat. I feel like he's the only one I can remember that I've consistently watched just from day one. I honestly,
I thought you might say Casey because he was doing the daily stuff back then too, right? He was huge.
It was right at probably the height of his daily vlogs is whenever we started. And I think that was really it. I feel like I just watched his videos and probably tried to copy him way too much and did a really bad job of doing so. And
I'm not a YouTube consumer, oddly enough. I've never watched YouTube videos. I still don't to this day. But I feel like it was kind of more fun for us not to. I felt like if I watched other people traveling, then I might like unintentionally copy, whereas Casey, it's like he wasn't really doing travel. So I don't know. I kind of feel like I feel like Greg really started Kinetic Kennons because the thing is I was working insane hours, 60, 65-hour work weeks. And so I would get off work, I would work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or something and get off work. And then Greg would say, I have this idea, let's go film this. So I feel like Kinetic Kennons really was like Greg.
That's so crazy because as someone who makes videos, just the idea of publishing every single day is terrifying enough. Doing that while one of you is working a full-time job, that's just mind-blowing.
Greg is really strong-willed. The hard-headed thing, like when I would be working 12 hours a day, his first videos would take 8 hours to edit. But, I would wake up and go to work, and he would wake up and go to work on Kinetic Kennons every day in, day out. So I feel like that's a huge, contributing factor to our quote-unquote success, if you will, or success for having this be our full-time job, again, if you will, in quotes, was Greg's determination to just learn and to get better. I mean, I think we have some 900 videos now or something crazy, but those first ones.
Wow. Yeah. So I definitely want to ask more about like your growth and how you got to where you are, but like going back to that daily video period, I know at least at one point, like when Casey Neistat eventually stopped doing daily, he talked about how like, listen, this was taking over my life. Like just the stress of doing a video every day can become something that maybe not everyone watching YouTube videos understands, because sometimes it looks kind of effortless. Like you just turn on the camera and you publish and you're done and you go live your happy life. But that's a lot of work. Was there a point where it got to be, I don't know, too much, or like, what was it like behind the scenes doing daily videos?
Yeah, I think obviously we're not doing daily anymore. I think we did daily for maybe just under 2 years, which is insane. Looking back, I really can't believe that we did it even for that long. I'm not sure how we did. I would say it wasn't an issue until it was. Like, it never really felt like, yeah, I would honestly say, like, up until the moment when we stopped, it never felt like it was an issue until we kind of had a moment where it was like, okay, this is getting too much. And then once we took a little bit of time off, as in just going to every other day or just a few a week, we could see like just how much doing daily was really consuming our life, or just how obviously we were traveling, we were going to beaches, doing incredible stuff, but we were kind of losing balance in our lives in the sense of we would be traveling or doing something amazing, and instead of being in the moment and truly I can't think of the word, truly, I guess, yeah, just in the moment and feeling that experience, appreciating that experience. It would be like, well, what if I get a shot of this? What if I get a shot of this? What if we do this? Or what if we said this? Or how long is the video going to be? Or is, you know, so it was kind of a weird mix of the two, but then we put the pressure on ourselves. It's like, well, like, do I deserve to enjoy this beautiful beach or this beautiful mountain? Like, I'm working. So how much of it, like, are we Greg and Hillary at work? Are we the Kinetic Kennons right now? Or are we Greg and Hillary, just the people, the couple? And so sometimes there were blurred lines, but obviously over time and just through experience, we've been able to, and still working on it, kind of create that balance in our lives.
I think one thing, as like a longtime viewer of your videos, one thing that gets across is you're very genuine. Like, and I know you guys outside the videos too. And I would say, like, there's no gap between who you are when the camera's on and off. Like, it's, and that probably helps, especially if you're doing daily videos. Like, I don't need to name any names, but I think, like, we all have seen YouTube videos where, like, someone's kind of putting on a big performance, and it's like, are you really like that in real life, or is this just a show we're watching? But here, like, the show is kind of your life in Mexico, right?
Exactly. But even like mentally, that, and you know, like, as a YouTuber, and it's something we don't really talk about a lot, because talking about being a YouTuber, I don't know, it just sounds weird to me. Yeah. But whenever,
my life is so hard. Yeah.
It's not that it's hard. It's just, it is confusing, and it is like I can't think of a more PC way to say it, but it messes with your mind. Like, whenever your life is the show, sometimes then you think, well, like, did I only think that funny thing because I thought it would be funny for the camera, or did Greg just really think of that on his own? So sometimes then you get it, then you start doubting yourself of your own thoughts. And I think that's whenever we started realizing that it's like, okay, well, we just need to take back off just a little bit. That way we, as Greg and Hillary, know who we are, and can hopefully even do a better job presenting Mexico and our life and our travels on YouTube.
Yeah. I think when we first started daily, I think I was working full-time for my job for almost the first year. And then I thought, okay, well, now that I'm no longer working at this job, then, you know, it'll be so much easier to film daily. But what happened is then we could start traveling full-time, which actually made it harder, even more exhausting, because we wanted to film and we were in a different hotel every 3 nights for months and months. And I feel like that is when I feel like it started to take a toll on us, because we would wake up exhausted and be in a brand new city and want to bring energy and excitement to our videos, but then behind the scenes almost just feeling so exhausted and almost in a way guilty that we weren't our freshest, if that makes sense. So over 8 months of full-term travel in a different room in a different bed every 3 nights, I think that definitely or we just weren't good. We weren't our good bosses. We didn't take good care of ourselves. We would wake up sick, but feel as if we had an obligation to film daily, because this is what we do. We make a video every day and we work hard. And so we would wake up feeling sick, but then and still sort of push through and power through those days. And I feel like that's great. And that we agree still, there are times that we need to push through or power through or stay up late or wake up early. But I think not drawing any boundaries over a period of only 8 months, which really isn't that long, I think those sort of things started to kind of, snowball.
I think that's very important to mention. And it's probably like great advice for anyone who is starting a YouTube channel or like trying to follow that path, because as you say, it can kind of sneak up on you. You can think
Yeah.
like, oh, like I'm living the dream. Like this is so much fun. I'm building an audience. I'm connecting with people. But then you
Right.
realize like literally like every free moment of every day, you're just like editing videos or like responding to comments, or it can definitely take a lot of time. I personally, I pretty much stopped filming transit days like in airports and stuff, because I find it's already not super stressful, but it's always a bit challenging, like when you're moving around with your bags and like getting on airplanes and stuff. I used to try and film every minute of it, but now I'm just like, no, I just want to like relax a bit on those days.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always being, I mean, being a YouTuber yourself, it's there's no set playbook. So sometimes in my mind that just messes with me, because it's like, well, if we did do this, we could, grow our channel, get more subscribers, get more views on this video. Eventually,
Everything is content, right? Every moment. Oh, this could be a video. This could be a video.
You're always thinking about how could you do more.
How
At
could we
least
do
I feel
more?
like that's what we still struggle with that every day.
Yeah.
Is like, well, we could be working on this, or we could be thinking about this other project, or you can constantly be doing
Yeah.
more. I think that's true in any like entrepreneurial type work.
And I will say, just to maybe close off that thought, is one thing we've done now that has helped us do better, I think, is we're trying to do things off camera, like intentionally, like, okay, we're not going to film today, but we're going to go do something. And I think that helps us feel normal, I guess, or helps us feel like, okay, we're going on an adventure, we're traveling, because that's when we are at our best. That's when Greg and Hillary are at our best. But to do that off camera lately has been very refreshing for us. So just for anybody watching, maybe who's kind of at that point or who gets to that point, I think that's one way. That's just something that's helped us kind of reset our equilibrium, balance. Equilibrium.
I think that's a very important point to make, especially in a year like 2020 when things, mental health is important. It's important to be checking in on yourself and making sure everyone is just, finding time to enjoy the ride instead of just being carried away by everything happening.
Exactly.
Hillary, you were talking about work, and we don't have to get deep into this if you don't want to, but I remember kind of when you made the shift from your full-time job and then you left that job and Kinetic Kennons became the full-time thing.
Yeah.
Was that a difficult decision? Was that like exciting? Was it like hard? There's a lot of emotions with a decision like that, right?
Yeah. So actually, it wasn't, I would say it was not hard. It wasn't a difficult decision, but the decision was taken out of my hands. I had no control. My job basically called and told me, you have 30 days to come back and work in our Dallas office or you're fired.
Wow.
And I can distinctly remember the day and having the phone call and thinking, there's no way I'm going. I don't feel like going back to Dallas ever even was an option. Like at this point, we have a life here. I can't, I didn't feel it was fair at the time to just say, pick up your
stuff in 30 days.
Pick up your life and move in 30 days. So I don't feel like actually making the decision to stay was hard at all or difficult. I feel like I walked out of the room bawling hysterically and I'm like, well, I guess like I don't have a job anymore. But the decision, I feel like before I even got off the phone, had been made. I feel like the terrifying part after that was taking this huge leap financially, if you will. I had this somewhat secure, or what I thought was secure, right? Salaried job as a CPA, going from that to an income that fluctuates each month based on patronage and income revenue, YouTube revenue and things like that, ad revenue. And taking that leap, I mean, I'm a numbers cruncher, right? That's my jam. So I remember looking on spreadsheets and like, okay, if we spend this much this month and this much this month, we can eat peanut butter every day. And what's the minimum I'm on? And like, I stressed myself out financially, just not knowing, because the decision was taken out of my hands, not knowing, I don't know, like, are we going to sink or swim? I don't know, but we're going to try.
Wow. Yeah, it's when you mentioned peanut butter, I just remembered, don't you have a video at Costco with like peanut butter jars?
I think that might have been one of our first videos to actually like I think at the time it got like 80,000 views or something, which is still a lot of those views.
It's one of our most viewed videos, which I don't know whether to be proud or ashamed of.
Isn't it crazy the ones that jump up? Like you can spend like a month making the perfect video, then no one sees it, and then you like hold up peanut butter at Costco, it's like million views.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's super. Well, I think it is, whether or not the decision was like entirely yours to make, I think it is a bold decision to make that jump. And I think you guys are like a great example of people who, you know, if you treat your passion serious enough, it can become your full-time job. You know, it's like kind of, it's like a physical change you need to decide, but it's also like a mental change. Like, okay, I'm going to start thinking about different ways to turn this into a business.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump ahead to a couple of my favorite videos that you've done, or like a couple of things that look pretty interesting from the outside. And one of them is relatively recent. It's when you guys bought a taco stand in Puerto Vallarta. Yeah, could you tell me a bit about like how that came to be?
I don't know. I know it was your idea.
I think we were just trying to think.
Oh, it came from, we were visiting our friends in San Miguel, and we thought, what if we they live next to like a little tiny bakery, right? We started by saying, what if we bought all the bread in the bakery for a day and gave it all away, so that anyone who came in this little bakery, we had purchased every single piece of bread and sweet bread in the bakery.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I think that's how it started.
Yeah, I think we had that idea, and you've seen Mr. Beast does crazy stuff like that as well. So I'm sure in some way it kind of been inspired through him or through similar type videos on YouTube. And so we had the idea to obviously, or not obviously for your viewers, but the taco stand that we bought for the day, and I'll get into that in a second, is our favorite taco stand, the very first taco stand that we ever went to in Mexico. And after all of our travels, I still think has my favorite tacos al pastor. And the workers are just extremely kind. And it's a good community there. So we felt like that was a perfect place for us to do something big and special. So I guess that's kind of how the idea came along. And for anybody who wants to watch the video, it was a complete success. There was somehow
so
people knew about it on Facebook, and people had told their friends, and it was like packed, and it was just a lot of fun. The confusion I think came in, we wanted a good title, obviously, we bought a taco stand. We didn't intend to intentionally mislead people to think that we owned a taco stand. So what we did was we worked with the owner beforehand and asked her how much meat they typically sell on a given night, or how many they think she would sell if they were free. So we basically bought all the supplies they would need, and I think we got a couple cases of beer as well.
Yeah.
So we gave her the money for the night, and then everything was free. Everything was free that night. So we don't technically still own the stand, but if anybody wants to go, it is Taqueria Las Hueras here in Vallarta.
Yeah.
It's probably people still showing up every day. ¿De dónde es los cannons?
Asking for
We get emails about it quite often.
We do get emails about it.
That's so funny. It's such a brilliant idea. I think it's like, it's simple, but it's beautiful. Like, we're going to buy all the tacos and give back to this community that we've moved to. It's a theme of your videos. You've found a lot of ways to like give back to the community that you've become a part of. And maybe that's one of the reasons you have such a strong audience. Like, you're not just making videos for tourists to Mexico. You're doing videos that like people who have grown up in Mexico can really appreciate as well.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Like, do you have anything to say about your community around the Kennons? Because I think you're one of the strongest examples of like you guys you have such a dedicated community around the channel you've built.
Well, thank you. It feels weird. It gives me like goosebumps when you're talking about it. It's weird. I don't want to talk. It's weird to talk about our own community, and I don't really know how we've been so lucky to be able to get that community. I guess a lot of it really is just luck, but I think there's some of it where I feel like, I mean, quite literally, like we are only able to do this job because of the people watching. And so, whenever whenever we would go to Zacatecas or Guadalajara or Mexico City, wherever it was, like we would literally think about like someone's grandma is from here, like someone's family is from here. And like the video we make about Zacatecas, like they're going to show, like there's going to be people in the United States that have never seen their hometown, never seen where their family's from. And through our video, they'll be able to watch it. So I think we always kind of have tried to take that angle of really trying to show off the best of cities, because we knew that how important it really was to people, just from feedback we've gotten, emails we've gotten, people we've spoken to in real life.
Yeah, I think, for us, we're like traveling and showing something silly, but it's so much deeper than that to our community. I think it's like reconnecting a family to someone who's never seen what Zacatecas looks like, or showing a grandmother how much her hometown has changed in 80 years. So I feel like from our perspective, we're just two silly goofballs with a camera walking around trying new things and seeing new places. But I think obviously we're a little biased, but I feel like we have the best community around who's so supportive. And look, the reality is we've gotten to do some incredible, amazing things. And I feel like for me, it's no fun unless others get to share in that. So whether that's through our video or whether that's giving away a free taco, I think we have been given such great opportunities that, to me, the fun is giving that back to other people. I don't know.
Yeah.
That makes any sense.
That makes total sense. And I think it's comments like that are why your channel has done so well. It's clear that that's your intention, is to, spread the positivity, spread the love as much as possible. I mentioned the taco stand. Are there any other like personal favorite videos or like experiences that you guys have had?
Oh,
and I know there's so many. It's a hard question, right?
Yeah. This one definitely is not a favorite, but one funny one, just a funny story. It doesn't start off funny, but it was a video we did whenever there was an earthquake in Mexico City.
Oh my gosh.
About a year after the 2016 earthquake. So fortunately, this was not the bad earthquake. I don't believe there's any deaths or really much damage, but we just happened to have the camera on us. I think at that time we were still doing daily, so of course we had the camera on us. And the sirens went off. I filmed just from the moment the sirens hit until maybe we made it home. Went home, published a video. Long story. Now every time we go back to Mexico City, people recognize Hillary from the crying girl in the earthquake video, and it's
no.
Yes.
I don't know why that's always just so funny to me, that it's like, of course, that video is the one people recognize Hillary from. Another funny aspect, it's really not, I hate to say it's funny, but looking back, we can all say it's funny. I was in Boycott, actually. You're the one who pointed me towards
Boycott Cafe Roma, right?
That's internet.
Mexico City, yeah.
Editing the video that evening, and I didn't have my headphones on me. We couldn't go back in our apartment yet because of safety reasons. So I was in Boycott editing the video, and
the earthquake video that had just happened maybe 30 minutes before.
Exactly. And I didn't have headphones, and I hit play. And from my computer, from the video, the siren went off, and everybody in the cafe was like jumped up and freaked out. And like I hit pause, like, no, stop being, no.
No mames.
So,
oh my gosh, it was the most, like, there were so many eyeballs on us. Like, I don't know if people thought he was joking. Then it was all okay. Everybody teased Greg, and it was fine. But
that's just a funny, I don't know, there's so many trips we've done, so many memories. Particularly, I think the taco stand is really definitely one of my favorite videos, because I feel like from the idea to the actual event to the actual video, I feel like was just amazing. Some of our favorite videos to film are any around holidays, Dia de Muertos, Dia de Independencia, Independence Day. It's just a lot of fun whenever you're around people having fun, going to soccer games. We've been to Estadio Azteca and the one in Guadalajara and Unam.
Yeah, anything with large groups of people in Mexico, the energy is just incredible, isn't it?
Exactly.
Well, that's great. I wanted to ask you guys a few things. One thing is, if you have any advice for someone who wants to start a YouTube channel. I've noticed in the comments that a lot of people who watch travel videos might be thinking of doing that themselves. There's a lot of travelers who, you know, might be picking up a little camera or cell phone for the first time and thinking like, I want to go on that journey. Is there any words that you'd offer to someone in that position?
Oh man, that's tough. I don't know. I didn't think of a good.
I thought you would definitely say just do it. Like YouTube is one of the only things that you can do for free. You don't need equipment. You don't need a microphone. You don't even need a camera. Pretty much everyone has a cell phone. You can we filmed for a long time on like
a really bad point and shoot. A
really bad point and shoot that like didn't even close anymore for a long time. It had a scratch on the lens, and I remember everyone tell us, clean your lens, and I would always say, it's a scratch. So I would say just do it. Like I think YouTube is an area where people, because there are such the quality of YouTube videos are so great. I think there's almost that is the barrier to entry, is fear of just trying and putting out content that's not going to be perfect. I don't know. I thought that's what you would say.
Yeah, and earlier you asked about like kind of our influences or people we're watching. I think probably one thing people make the mistake of doing on YouTube whenever starting out, and we did it ourselves, is trying to copy what other people are doing, or like whether it be the editing, the shots, the way you talk. There's always going to be an influence if you're watching YouTube or even movies. It's good to be influenced and to learn. But I think a lot of people feel like they need to make a Peter McKinnon vlog, or, you know, a J.R. Ali vlog, or just, you know, any of these. It doesn't have to be crazy cinematic. You don't need a drone. You just need to be yourself. Just be yourself. And I mean, I hesitate to say to do daily, because mentally it's not really that good for you.
But you gotta just try it.
Apart from tricking the YouTube algorithm, what daily helped us, what it helped me, was just becoming a better editor, better filmer, getting better on YouTube. And so really like the first 600 videos of ours I look at is like, those don't even count. Like that was just all practice. Like now I can go to work because I have the practice from all those videos that unfortunately people watch. Yeah, like Billy said, not being afraid to just get out there and try something, and don't let perfection get in the way of hitting publish.
That's such important advice, and I think it's something I can relate to. It's probably something every creator can relate to. I mean, even now as I'm doing this podcast, like I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't have a podcast studio or anything like that. So if I looked at my favorite podcast and I saw their setup, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm not a podcaster because I need this mic and this background and this, you know, all these things that you don't have. But if you focus on the things you do have, like, you know, just the phone in your pocket, you can actually make some pretty cool stuff.
Right. I actually like your background. I was noticing the plants earlier, and way back in the distance, I can see a plaque that I recognize.
Oh, the
keep it every so often.
The 100K, yeah. You guys have your plaque too.
We travel with.
We don't have a good spot for it. Yeah. And of course, like we love a quote unquote studio space, or like a cool spot to always film. But it's just, if you're traveling, it's not really practical, and so the kitchen it is.
Travel life's a bit hard to build a podcast studio like every place you travel to. Going back to what you said, Greg, and also Hillary, about just do it with what you can. I feel like YouTube has become so tech focused. Like there's so many tech channels out there. Every time a new camera comes out, there's like 100 different channels showing you how cool it is, and kind of subconsciously telling you buy this, that people feel that insecurity, like, oh, I don't have the latest camera, so I can't make this video yet.
Right.
But as you so correctly mentioned, it's not the camera, it's the story. It's the person behind the camera that matters.
Exactly. Yeah. And like you said, just your story. And sometimes that's something we have to remind ourselves of, like, our daily life to us isn't interesting. you know, it's just our daily life. It's a little weird now because of COVID, obviously, but we go to the gym, or maybe we go to the beach, or maybe we don't do anything, or like we order groceries from La Comer online. But then sometimes I have to remind myself that, like, for most people watching, what we do here in Mexico, even if it's nothing, even if we sat at home all day, is really unique and different from other people's lives. And really, whether you've moved countries or not, like your story, your life is interesting in a way to some people. There's bigger and smaller niches as well, but I think it's just, that's the fun of making videos, right? Is finding a creative way to share whatever it is your story or your message is.
Well, okay. After a moment ago saying how tech doesn't matter at all, let's get geeky just for a moment. And I want to ask, like, what camera are you using these days? What's your setup look like?
Right now we have a Sony a6400. So I think that's kind of like a mid-line camera. Like, it's not a full frame.
Yeah.
But very nice camera. We really enjoyed it. It's fairly lightweight. And then we mostly use just the kit lens with it. Yep. But then we also have two different lenses. We have a 35 millimeter 1.8 or 1.6. So it's a really good lens. Just not as versatile for vlogging because obviously it's a prime lens, meaning you can't zoom. And then we have another prime lens that's a 16 millimeter 1 point something as well. So those are like, when we want to take pictures, those will be what we get. If we're going somewhere and we want to get a quote unquote cinematic shot or make it look a certain
35.
way.
We love the 35. I feel like the 35 in markets or a food or like, I don't know, it like gives this really intimate, juicy. I feel like we both love when we can get B-roll shots with the 35. It makes us both like nerdily excited.
Juicy is a good word for a camera lens.
And a lot of times that's just for us. And I mean, the videos are for other people, but it's our art, our way of expressing ourselves. So it's just like, okay, well, I don't think the viewers typically care what lens we're using or know if it's, oh, that shot had bokeh on it. Like, only other YouTubers or videographers were really going to pick up on that. So a lot of times it's just for us, which is why it's not that important. But it's fun.
Or even the little shots where, you know, and I love to do this too. You like put the camera down somewhere and walk past it. Like some of those moments that take so much work in the back end for like 2 seconds of footage, but
then
it
you
just
have
makes
to,
it fun.
And get it. We did this recently, actually. We hiked a mountain and we kept getting shots of us walking past the camera up the mountain. And then every time Greg would have to turn around, jog back down, get the camera, and then jog back up. So he basically climbed the mountain twice. That was pre-broken foot.
Pre-broken foot.
Yeah.
Speaking of the broken foot, how are you doing now, Greg? I mean, I know some of us have seen you limping around, and you were in a chair for one video. We're getting worried about you, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, it's getting better. So I broke my foot 3 weeks ago, and I had an X-ray. There's a small fracture in my foot. Put me on crutches. Actually, I can't reach it. One of my crutches actually broke. I think I'm a little too heavy for the crutch. But luckily my foot's healing enough to where I can kind of like hobble around or put some weight on the left foot. Hillary did try, and our neighbor lent us a wheelchair that he had, but it was so hard. I mean, you saw in the video, it was like,
I could not do it. It was funny, but then it was funny for like 2 minutes, but then I feel like I was saying some choice words. And by the time we got to the restaurant, I was like, I put my foot down. And I was like, I am not pushing you home. We will call an Uber and pack this wheelchair in the Uber. And we did. So we only taken the chair out once.
That's quite the arm workout, isn't it? Pushing Greg around in a chair.
Yeah.
He's not small.
I heard about it. We'll say that. Right. I will say people have been like overall like super nice, like random and people on the beach, like, hey, what happened? I hope you're doing better soon. So it has been, I thought yesterday, I was like, I might keep the boot a little bit longer just so people continue to be this nice.
You keep getting the best table at the restaurants.
Exactly.
We got to board an airplane first, which I thought was
nice.
One of the perks of having a broken foot.
That's a good travel hack. Yeah, just grab a cast.
That's what I said. Like, you don't have to pay to upgrade to priority boarding. You just break a foot every so often.
That's a good video idea right there.
The doctor visit probably would offset that cost.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, guys, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know it's It's been a great conversation, and we don't have to wrap up now, but I want to you know, just ask a couple more things.
Yeah, of course.
One of them is about your life in Puerto Vallarta, and I've been to Vallarta a couple times, and I know you were there first, but when I first arrived too, I instantly saw what the appeal is. It's Mexico is a country full of special places, but Vallarta is just, there's something about it that makes you want to keep coming back, which I'm sure you can feel as well. But it's also a very small community in some ways. So given all the videos you've made in Vallarta, like, do you guys get recognized a lot? Like, what's the experience in Vallarta like?
Actually, I thought of this before the call because I think someone had asked just that on our most recent video that we just published, and I thought some days it feels like we're rock stars.
Yeah.
We'll walk the Malecon and oh my gosh, Goyo, Hillary, and it's like it feels crazy. But then there's enough days in between where no one gives a crap about who we are that it kind of keeps us grounded and humbled. So it's somewhere in between the two. Obviously, during high season, it gets busy here, and there's more of an expat community that have likely to have seen our videos. Yeah. But it really just kind of depends on where we're at.
Yeah, it depends.
It is something I could have never imagined happening in our life.
Weird. Yeah. Still just as weird.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes. Like you can understand the numbers on the computer. It's like, oh yeah, so 50,000, that video did good, but you don't really think of 50,000 people each existing. It's like a weird mental trick, right?
Right.
Well, and I think like our job, like we can talk to a camera all day, right? But then like when there's a real human there, it's like they're nervous because they approached us, and then I get nervous, and then it's like, well, who's nervous here? And then we're just like really awkward because we're not used to so much human interaction.
Yeah, and that's something you've seen yourself and all over Mexico that you've been, but probably especially Mexico City with your Chapultepec video that just blew up. But like, I know that video had a ton of views, but there's so many people that live in Mexico City. But like, I mean, if you're out downtown, there's probably not a day you would not get recognized from that video or another one of your videos, which is just, it's got to be mind-blowing, I would imagine.
It makes the world seem like a much smaller place because you suddenly realize like, oh, yeah, like we're all connected. Like you just like your average day before I ever got recognized for anything, you just see like, oh, there's all these strangers around me, and you don't really pay attention to them that much. But then if a random person stops you, it's very humbling, and it's also very like, oh wow, like something I did connected to you enough that you would then stop me and say hello. Like it's just a very mind-bending thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It is. It's I don't know. Yeah, it's just a special thing. I don't feel like there's that many things you could do in your life that you could impact so many people. Whether like if you're a teacher over the course of your lifetime, I can't do the whole math, but if you teach, I don't know, how many kids would you teach in a year? A couple hundred students over 1 year, and you teach for 30 years. So like 3,000 students, we'll say 10,000 at like most, but like that's nothing compared to somehow what we can reach because of YouTube and social media and everything. So yeah, it's wild.
You're always grateful. I'm always like, if anyone's listening to this and they see me on the street, please say hello. Like it's a great moment, but also there is that kind of like anxiety of like, oh, first of all, you don't know how well they know you. Like maybe they've seen one video and they're just like, oh yeah, the new travel guy. Or if they've seen every video, they know me better than my friends. Like they know everything about me.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like that's more often how it is like when someone approaches us, they'll say, oh, Greg. They always recognize Greg because he's the tallest guy in town. And then there's always this like awkward pause because they recognize us because they've seen us, but we don't recognize them. So there's always this sort of pause. And then inevitably they remember like, oh, I know you don't know who we are, but we know you. And then I feel like we quickly become, cute, like real life best friends instead of just a one-sided relationship on camera. But I do feel like there is this awkward moment of like, we don't know you.
Yeah.
Or there's been instances like yesterday, I thought we saw this lady make eye contact with us and kind of smiled. And we were sitting on the beach watching the sunset. And I thought, oh, okay, that lady, she recognizes us and coming to talk to us.
Yeah.
But then she didn't. She saw a friend back behind us. So it was an important lesson of like, okay, we're not that important.
Yeah.
You're just like, do you want an autograph?
Yeah.
Who are you? Other than what people know you for, which I would say is the YouTube, obviously your time, your great travels through Mexico, and the kinetic aspect, you are both very active, very into fitness, I think, from the beginning. Is there anything else that's a deep passion of yours that's outside of that, something that would surprise people?
Pretty boring.
I don't know. I don't know if I would say like it's a deep passion. I'm always just interested in learning things, whatever that may be. Like at one point, I kind of picked up like when we went to Hawaii early on. I bought a ukulele, and I just wanted to learn how to play the ukulele. I didn't need to learn how to play it like, really well. I just wanted to learn. No, it's not that I like to be able to do things. It's frustrating for me not to be able to do things. So I with that said, I feel like I like to try and pick up things to learn them. Obviously Spanish or traveling a little bit. I'm dabbling in Portuguese now. I know that you've traveled to Brazil, Dan. It's so interesting and fascinating. I'm a big reader. I like to journal, meditating. I don't know. I think just learning in general, and that's kind of how we got to YouTube in the first place, but maybe something we don't show that often. Hillary likes to bake.
I don't know. Yeah, I really like to cook. I feel like in my spare time, everyone says they like to cook, so I realize it makes me sound just as boring. I really do like to cook.
Everyone likes to cook, but not everyone knows what they're doing. I definitely don't know what I'm doing.
I like to think I know what I'm doing.
She's a very good cook.
But I like to cook in my spare time. I am really close to my family, so I spend probably hours every day FaceTiming my mom and sisters.
Yeah, I was going to say about Hillary, not to speak for you, but Hillary spends hours a day on the phone with her family, and if it'll be the evening, it'll be 8 or 9 p.m. She's like, I've only talked to my mom twice today. I haven't talked to my mom in a week. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really close to, but I think like my mom and sisters have always been really my best friends. So I feel like I don't like text with a best friend. I'll just call my mom or sister. So I would say that's something that maybe people don't know is that even though we're separated by distance, I feel like I'm extremely close to my family.
I don't know if you have any more questions, Dan. I feel like it's been weird for us not to ask you questions, so I wanted to ask you one. You can
no, jump in. I'm happy to. Well, we'll see what the question is, but for now, I'm happy.
What is what's something you really enjoyed about Mexico, whether it be a place or food or part of the culture, tradition, etc., and then maybe something that you didn't like? Again, it could be food. Doesn't have to be anything deep. Just one thing like you really liked and one thing you didn't like as much.
It's always hard to answer a question like that when you've been to like different parts of Mexico and they're all like in some ways so different.
Yeah.
But I would say that, one thing I love is just kind of the Mexican sense of humor, or just kind of the Mexican openness. I've been thinking a lot about how, in Canada, we don't necessarily interact with people we don't know as much. We're more like, if you see a stranger, you like speak, like if they speak to you, you'll speak back. But we're not like, if we just see someone like you're talking about going down the Malecon in your wheelchair and people are like asking you, oh, what happened? I'll get better, man. Like, I feel like that sense of just openness to strangers happens a lot in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of made me a more open person. Like I've tried to adapt a bit of that myself, because you just see how like happy and funny and outgoing some Mexicans are. And you're like, oh, I want to be like that too.
Exactly. Well, you see how much joy it brings to your own life and how that's something. I don't know what I imagine about the States and maybe Canada is that's how life was once upon a time. You talk to your neighbors more, but that's really one thing about Mexico that is probably like the thing that keeps us here and has kept us coming back is just the community and the people and the openness and that way of life. I don't know. not when we're not here, it's like depressing. You
Yeah.
don't talk to people, you don't interact with people, you don't get those small daily interactions that, okay, maybe this guy on the boardwalk isn't my friend. I've only talked to him once. But whenever you get those little interactions every day, it really adds up to a lot of meaningful connections.
Yeah.
Well, I want to get back to that. I'll just mention the thing that I don't like is I think the noise pollution in Mexico. It can be, especially, I mean, I was in Mexico City, so maybe I had it about the worst, but I just found that whenever I was trying to film a video, there's always like some loud truck or some honking or some guy playing music, and it just never stopped.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's
true.
That's, I guess, the downside of everything being built so close together. Whether it's a small town, like small towns in Mexico are still like, it's still all together. Whereas like a small town in Texas, there might be a courthouse, but then everybody lives miles and miles and miles away from one another. Whereas here, even a small town, there's still a bus barreling down the cobblestone streets. That's crazy loud.
Yeah.
But going back to the previous point about, it's escaped my mind for a second. It was something I wanted to touch on. Was it
the community of people?
Yeah, the Mexican sense of openness, and I think especially if you live in the suburbs, like in a place like Canada or the US, you don't have that at all, right? Like if you're somewhere that is more suburban, like there's no Zocalo, there's no like town square where everyone just gathers and like plays music and hangs out at night. It's like that doesn't exist. So how do you have a sense of community without that?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you get in your car and you go to work, and your sense of community may be found in like actual like organized events like church on Sundays, or your book club or your coworkers. But I think definitely like the in between, like good mornings and like almost just like acquaintances, I don't feel like that exists.
Yeah.
Not where our families live.
I think it definitely leads to, like how you're saying, the design of our cities definitely leads to consumerism, right? Like that's how, I don't know if that's why they built them, but like you have to get in your car, something you paid a lot of money for, you actually probably still don't own, fill it up with gas, drive somewhere, probably to some place that you're paying to go to. You're probably not going to like a park to meet your friends. You're probably
going
to movies or going bowling, going somewhere to spend money. Whereas I think in Mexico, just the beauty of it is everybody can go to the park or the beach or the Zocalo, whatever it be, and just hang out, and that's free. And that's not something that really exists in the U.S. And I can't speak for Canada, but.
Well, guys, I've reached the end of my list of questions. Greg, you're welcome to throw more questions at me if there's anything else burning on your mind.
I think we're going to have to start a podcast just to ask you more questions. I did want to ask you, hinted at it lightly, and I don't know how much you want to reveal to your audience. Maybe this would be a perfect hook for them.
Go right ahead.
Your YouTube videos, but with COVID and everything, what's the future of the new travel?
That's a very good question. And you know what? I don't. Okay, what the heck? I'll just make an announcement. I'm going to be going back to Mexico very soon. Yeah.
You are?
Yeah, I'm coming back.
Where are you going to go? Do you know?
That's why I've been hesitating to make the announcement. I don't know yet, but I know that.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I know it's going to happen soon. Canada's getting cold.
Yeah.
Canada's getting dark. Mexico is open to tourism.
It's bright and hot here.
Yeah, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to definitely go back to Mexico City. I'm definitely going to go. I want to explore more of central Mexico, like some areas I haven't been to. Mm-hmm. I was telling Greg I'm looking at San Luis Potosí because I have a friend there.
Yeah.
Right.
And my rough idea for now is I have a couple of people who I'm going to try and meet with in Mexico and maybe like film a podcast in person.
Cool.
So yeah, I'm trying to make like a series of videos where it'll be like I'll be showing the city, but then on the podcast channel I'll have like a conversation and kind of try and link them together somehow. And I don't know, I have all these ideas I need to figure out, but that's where my mind is at.
That's exciting.
That is so exciting.
I'm really excited. It'd be great. I mean, it'd be great to visit you guys in Vallarta too. I know I love there.
Yeah.
I'm always torn between seeing someplace new and going back to the places I know and love.
Too.
It's a
Us too.
constant battle in my mind.
Yeah.
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 I think there's something to be said about both, but Vallarta does have that something about it. It's not, to me, it's not, doesn't have the best water. It's not, doesn't have the prettiest beaches.
Yeah.
The city, like in terms of compared to other Mexican cities, isn't that beautiful. It doesn't even have the most traditional Mexican food, but for some reason, it's just everything combined together just makes it a perfect place. So for that reason, we suggest you come back for at least a few days.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for me or for anyone else who might be traveling to Mexico in the near future? Because I know this is a very uncertain year, and I don't want to get into all the negative stuff going on, but just generally, is there anything we should know about traveling right now?
Here, in any like establishment, there's like a cleansing mat you'll step on. Hand sanitizer is required everywhere. They check your temperature everywhere. I'm not sure if it's like that in Canada, but I would say that here in Vallarta and in Mexico City, people seem to be taking it,
I would say,
responsibly.
People, I feel like people are taking it seriously and I think right now there's a good environment for people to be able to travel to Mexico and within Mexico safely and securely with the protocols they have in place. I think I'm no public policy, public health expert, but
I mean, I was really worried early on when like all the countries were shutting down, because I know Mexico's so reliant on tourism that's the other thing. Like the people selling snacks at the beach and stuff, like without the tourists, that's their livelihood. And in countries like Canada, and I don't know exactly how the US is doing it, but there's like some support system. The government is giving out some checks to people who are out of work, but I don't know if Mexico can really do that.
I don't know. I do know that specifically here in Vallarta, the expat population has really expat-owned businesses have really stepped up for the past several months in offering free meals. So they set up this sort of like, actually, I don't even know if they were all expat-owned. I think the idea came from an expat, but basically they each took like a day of the week, so that almost every day of the week they were giving away free meals to the community. I mean, hundreds of them.
There'd be people lined up.
So I feel like, I think like that speaks volumes for the community here in Vallarta and really humanity as a whole. Look, when something bad happens, I feel like it is strangely uniting in that way. So I think Vallarta, for the most part, is going to be okay. But I do think it took a village.
Well, that's great to know that people are looking out for each other. And I'm just really excited to get back to Mexico.
I can't wait.
Well, other than that, guys, I just want to say like thank you not only for doing the podcast, but for being like an inspiration to me for quite some time. I think, the travel YouTube space, it's not that big. There's not that many of us crazy people trying to make a living doing this stuff. And, I've seen what you've done with the Kennons. I remember when you went full time, and Hillary, I remember when your video about leaving your job, and it's just been a pleasure to watch your journey and to watch your growth. And I'm proud of you guys for everything.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Yeah, I'm proud to be your friend. And for us, it's important to have friends who do the same line of work, just because there's always something that we can relate on random things. And especially having been in Mexico, there's only so many friends we could possibly have that do this. So, we appreciate you and your friendship, because it is meaningful to us, and more so than it seems or than you know.
Okay, one final question before we wrap up. Do you guys have any books, movies, or Netflix shows to recommend to the listeners of this podcast?
Books, no. I don't read.
I just read 1984 in Spanish. Actually, I'd read it in English before. Whether you want to read in English, Spanish, or it's probably translated into every language. That's a good book to reread at this time or to read for the first time. I just read The Martian, which is a super good book. I don't know if you've read that or seen the movie. It's fascinating. I'm not usually into sci-fi, but I think it was a really good story. Netflix. What have we been watching? A bunch of shows on Netflix. Oh, what's the one? The nature.
Oh, there's some movie about Earth.
Let me get the name of
Oh,
it. I don't.
the David
Yes.
Attenborough one?
Yes. Have you seen it?
No, but we were close to watching it.
Good. It's
We
good.
thought about it. But yeah, I'll have to watch that. I heard great things.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's good.
that's a great, especially for anybody interested in traveling and like, he doesn't really super hit at it, but like kind of living in a sustainable way or just going into the next 50 to 100 years of life on Earth. That was extremely interesting. And you started watching a travel show with Zac Efron.
Oh, yeah. I actually kind of like this show with Zac Efron. I think it's called Down to Earth. Have you seen that one?
No, I haven't. Tell me more.
Jeez, you need to get on Netflix.
I know. What am I doing with my life?
It's pretty good too. He kind of just travels around to different places and again talks a little bit about sustainability and things like that. But the show itself is really down to earth. Like it's obviously well produced, but I like it. Just kind of feels like you're along with them. So they go incredible places. So I actually really like that.
And last but not least, not travel related at all, but highly recommend Last Chance U. We watched all 4 or 5 seasons, like 2 weeks. That was a really well done show, really entertaining. So we're kind of all over the map in terms of our Netflix shows, binge watching.
That question was secretly my way of asking what I should be watching and reading to get through the rest of 2020. So thanks for the recommendations. And I think we'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Thank you.
To everyone watching at home, if you made it to the end of this video, thanks for making it this far. And leave a comment. Let the Kennons know what you thought of this video. And it's been a lot of fun. As always, guys, I'm Dan. Wait, I started laughing.
Come on, Dan.
I made it so long without laughing. Okay. As always, guys, I'm Dan from the New Travel Podcast, and I will see you on the road. How'd that feel?
Awesome.
That was cool, man.
I think we did good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was really fun.